Well, Mike, it says in Hebrews chapter 12 that there's coming a time where Yah says, yeah, not once more, I'll not only shake the earth, but also the heaven. He says, I'm going to shake everything that can be shaken so that only the unshakable may remain. And of course, we all expect to be left in the sieve after the shaking is taking place. But, you know, Peter warned us also in Second Peter about those speaking arrogant nonsense. They entice the lust of the flesh through indecencies, the ones who have indeed escaped from those living in delusion.
Mm,
Speaking nonsense.
yeah.
There's a lot of nonsense that is propagated and preached and taught in the body of Messiah at large, especially concentrated in our communities
Hmm.
and focusing on Israel. You know, Israel seems to be the sieve that sifts everybody and kind of determines what kind of sound legs do you have to stand on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as we have recently learned, that's continuing to be the case. Um, are we to just shrug our shoulders and say, oh, well, when more nuts fall out of the trees? Or are we obligated to pick them up and get them out from under our feet?
Well, let me get to that. Let me get to that in just a moment. I was thinking about the verse of the I will shake everything that can be shaken, and was thinking maybe that's where Elvis Presley got his inspiration for that song, and it probably was while wearing a shirt like you have.
Could be.
Just say.
This is from my Elvis collection.
Yes, that's right. All right. Before I answer that question, I want to go back to last week. We had a quite an exchange of thoughts last week, and the response I got from people was very positive. But I do want to go back and just clarify something. You mentioned your mom, and I've only met your mom 2 or 3 times, but she is one of the sweetest ladies that I have ever met in my life. What we were talking about was, don't go back, don't go over to, grandma. If you're going to go over to grandma's house and burn down the Christmas tree, but then cash her check. And you mentioned that your mom still gives you guys something around that time. So I want to clarify something. I was not attacking you, your mom, in any way, because Barry, I've known you a lot of years,
Yeah.
and we've walked together through this change of our lifestyles and all of these things, and I've never heard you once say anything negative about your mom. And the fact that she just doesn't see like you see. You've
Mhm.
always shown respect and honor to that, and so this is what you brought up there at the end is a totally different subject than what I was talking about.
Mhm. Okay. I never thought twice about it, to be honest with you.
Okay, well, I did because I just want anybody that might have any inclination out there. See, this is the difference. If you go and you lambast somebody and you belittle them and and condemn them for something, but yet then you enjoy the benefits of what you were condemning them for, who's the hypocrite then?
Right.
Okay.
Indeed.
So with that, we want to go to the nuts on the ground. Okay. If you've ever walked around in the woods and you're stepping on a bunch of acorns and stuff, they can hurt. All right. So it's, we need to probably clear the forest out just a little bit. There's a lot going around on the internet these days. And let's go ahead and deal with the big one that's out there. And that is the bullet in the right ear of Trump, which caused him to reach up with his right hand and touch with his right hand his right ear, therefore getting blood on his right hand, falling then to the ground in a manner in which it looked like he was kneeling. His ear is bleeding profusely. His shoes fall off, which means that that blood was able to soak through his shoe.
You stop.
And then the next week, during that same week, he was then at the Republican convention in a consecration service. Barry, is this coincidence? Is this, wow, the Almighty has anointed him? Is this, we're seeing something, are we trying to push this? I mean, what's your feelings on that?
Well, the inauguration of the Levitical priesthood, the Kohanim, involved placing blood on the right ear, right thumb, right great toe, which is one of the very few times that blood is actually applied to a person. Most often is applied to the altar or against the altar. One other occasion, Exodus 24, Moshe takes the blood that has been gathered and he sprinkles the people and the book of the covenant or the scroll of the covenant. I dare say he didn't hit every person of Israel with the sprinkling of that blood. Another one case is the Metzora that is cleansed. If I'm not mistaken, likewise, they go through right ear, right thumb, right toe. The thing is, though, Mike, in none of those cases is human blood used.
True.
So it cannot be, for two reasons, Donald Trump, if you're pro or con on him, I don't, that's not even a part of the equation. He's not a Kohanim. He is not being inaugurated as a Kohanim. Neither do I believe that he is a Metzora that is being cleansed of his leprosy. Someone may argue that. But you cannot be set apart by your own blood. So it's at best,
big statement there.
It is at best a coincidence that potentially we know that there was blood on his ear and his hand. Whether it was on his feet or not, that's speculation.
Yeah.
And if this was to be determining a significant spiritual something, there would have to be affirmation and more than just conjecture and suspicion that blood got on his toes, but especially his right big toe. So I think that this is I started to say well-intentioned. I don't know what the intentions were. It makes for an exciting Facebook post. There's some that's taken so far as to put out YouTube videos on it. Some who ought to know better. And I think it's a non-starter, non-issue. You really have to stretch. Is it interesting? Is it a coincidence? Well, yeah, for something to discuss in a small private conversation or something, maybe. But I think that it's a distraction more than anything else, and I can't see any possible valid spiritual significance in it.
Is it possible that the root of this, and again, I'm with you on this. There were definitely some, kind of like, wow, okay, and it's like many other books that have been written through the years about the parallels between America and Israel. Okay,
Sure.
I think there's some parallels, but in the end, there is this underlining attempt to make America the new Israel. That, by the way, is Mormon doctrine. Okay, I mean, I think you've studied that too. It is Mormon doctrine that Messiah will come to Independence, Missouri, somewhere in that area, rebuild the temple, and yada yada. They came to America, and it just like what? But there is this underlying thing that Israel can't be Israel, and anywhere else in Israel can be Israel, and any other people besides the Jews can be the Jews, and any other word besides the Torah can be the word. It's there's this breakdown that I see there. Am I right?
Everything that you mentioned can be categorized under the banner or listed under the category banner of supersessionism, also known as replacement theology.
Yeah.
Uh, there has been long, ages long, centuries long animosity and rejection and hatred of the Jewish people. I know Young was with us last night, just took him to the airport early this morning. And he said, you can call it anti Semitism if you want.
No.
He said, but basically, it's that term is too easily redefined. What it really is Jewish hatred or hatred
Yeah.
of the Jews.
Yeah. It's Jew hatred.
So when we say the church has replaced Israel, that's hatred of the Jews. Well, that's a little strong. No, that's not strong enough.
Mm.
When we say that America has replaced Israel and the promises of the prophets, that's hatred of the Jews. Did Messiah come to a different? Does he come to a different place? Is he coming to some other country than Israel? No, he's not. Or else the prophets are liars. So, for a Messiah to rise up out of any other place other than Israel, specifically initially out of Jerusalem, it's a false Messiah. I don't care what signs, wonders, miracles, words, deeds, titles that they have. It doesn't,
Mm-hmm.
and the world will be deceived by such.
Well,
It should not be listed among those who are of the community of belief
no,
to
no, shouldn't
fall
at
for
all.
such stuff, but they will.
I was with Bill and Kimberly Morgan this past Shabbat at Battlefield Assembly of Messiah. And the second message I did, which is actually on Facebook and YouTube, Battlefield of Messiah, in Rossville, Georgia, was a message I put together a number of years ago called The Blood Trail of Judah. And I go through it, and I didn't even go into everything. I mean, I can spend hours on this subject, but it depresses me. Let me just read to you the words of John Christendom, yeah, that guy.
Christendom.
Yeah, I'm still tired. Lived it between the years of 344 and 407 A.D. One of the so-called one of the greatest, in parentheses, of church fathers, known as Golden Mouth. Yeah,
Golden Tongue Orator. Yeah.
yeah. He said this. This is a quote: "The synagogue is worse than a brothel. It is the den of scoundrels and the repair of wild beasts, the temple of demons devoted to idolatrous cults, the refuge of brigands and debaucheries, and the cavern of devils. It is a criminal assembly of Jews, a place of meeting for the assassins of Christ, a house worse than a drinking shop, a den of thieves, a house of ill fame, a dwelling of iniquity, the refuge of devils, a gulf and abyss of perdition." I would say the same thing about their souls. As for me, I hate the synagogue. I hate the Jews for the same reason. Church father, go to Battlefield of Assembly, check out the rest of it, and watch out, it'll turn your stomach.
There are there are numerous names on this list of early church fathers who wrote such diatribes. Um, and they're still, in large ways held up with esteem among seminary students as well. This one preached and said, and the doctrine of thus and such came from, and so on. You cannot hate Yah's covenant people and claim them to be inspired of the Holy Spirit.
Very okay. So let's dive in. We've been beating around this for a while. This past Shabbat, it was early in the morning, and I looked over, and I have a couple of things I'll listen to a lot of times on Shabbat morning. And if anybody has a problem with that, sorry, but I use it kind of as a catch up time. And I went over to a radio station, online radio station that I used to be on, Hebrew Nation Online,
Did I?
and I actually pulled my programming off of Hebrew Nation Online a couple of years ago, because of some anti-Semitic, or we could call it Jew hatred, that was being propagated by some of the so-called teachers on there. They were not willing to take the broadcast out. I never said anything on publicly regarding it, and but I just knew that I could not be a part of something like that. If any of my Jewish brothers and sisters were to, oh wow, he's on there, and happen to tune in for some reason just to see what it's all about, and heard some of this, I am now in that same boat with them, and I'm not paddling that boat. Um, so I turned over, and I saw this the program Flashpoint. Now I'm not getting personal, okay? But and so we're throwing this out. I'm not attacking so much a person as it is the attitudes. And so if anybody wants to go online, they can go to Hebrew Nation Online. They can go to Flashpoint, and they can listen to the last 25 minutes of that program. And that's what we're going to go ahead.
There's a quick disclaimer. There is a television program called Flashpoint.
Yeah.
That is not what you're referencing here.
Correct.
But this is a radio program specific to Hebrew Nation Online.
Yeah. Now, Barry, I sent this to you immediately, and said, what is please tell me that I'm sleep deprived, and I didn't really hear what I was saying. But the people that are part of this broadcast, this is not the first time that they've said things that are in many ways anti-Jewish. But when I heard the lady that's on there, whom I know her, know of her. Have I called? No, because I've done that in the past. But here's the statement, and I'd like people to go online. You can go on, you can listen. If I'm wrong, I'll be the first to say it. Okay. The statement was that the Jews, the IDF, are going into Gaza and murdering the Palestinians. They will then go into Lebanon, Syria, and murder them, and then they will come to murder us. Barry, am I close to the quote?
I think so. And it was prefaced by a reinterpreting of Ezekiel 38, where the target of Gog and Magog is not Israel, but the United States. So whoever Gog, Magog is and is comprised of nations, Ezekiel was prophesying about the United States here, and these nations are coming here to attack us. A fanciful interpretation at best, but yeah, the idea that, number one, let's go back to the first point. The IDF and the Jews are going into Gaza and they are murdering people. That would be like us saying that uh, the American armies and navies went into Europe and murdered Germans during World War II. That we landed
Man,
at Normandy in particular to murder Germans. Um, it would be like saying that we specifically went into Afghanistan or Bosnia or wherever we had been to murder people.
Vietnam.
Vietnam, we went to Vietnam to murder Vietnamese, and we should have been. The thought added on there was, Mike, they're never giving these people the chance to know who the Messiah is before they kill them.
Yeah. The quote was, they'll never, because they're being murdered before given the opportunity to receive Jesus, which I have really problems with that phraseology to begin with. But, if somebody breaks into my house and is about to do bodily harm to my family, anybody that's listening that may have an idea that you're going to try that, do not expect a gospel track before the 12 gauge slug.
uh,
Okay.
Follow me in the sinner's prayer before I pull this
Yeah.
trigger.
No, 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 it's not happening. October 6th, October 7th at 6:30 in the morning, 6:29, there was a permanent ceasefire. The people of Gaza had lived in so-called peace
Even though they were
for
firing thousands of rockets.
19 years, having lobbed rockets at Israel over and over and over again and sent terrorists out from Gaza into the kibbutzim. But that morning, Israel, living at so-called peace with the people of Gaza, they came into communities that their landscapers, their housekeepers, their whatever people that these kibbutzim, the people in those communities had employed them, given them money, helped them, only to find out later that they were diagramming communities and houses to give those diagrams to Hamas, to terrorists, so that when they came in those communities, they'd know where to go. When Israelis were kidnapped, taken back into Gaza, we had an interesting thing. This is the first war that's happened like this, that it was filmed with GoPros.
Mm-hmm.
The Arabs had GoPro cameras on. Show me the video, Barry, of the GoPro camera of an Arab saying, "No, you cannot rape her again." Show me that video. It's not there because they were complicit in this. And so for someone to say that the people of Gaza are being murdered by the IDF, I know some of those soldiers. I've talked with some of those soldiers. I've cried with one of them. I know their moms. I know their dads. Are there mistakes that have been made? It's war. Mistakes are already made. There's always mistakes in war. But to say that these people are going in and arbitrarily, and then when they're done there, they're going to go up to Lebanon and Syria and arbitrarily, and then when they're done there, they're coming to murder us. Because the Talmudic Jews are the seed of, or the synagogue of Satan.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody is at this moment in time is uncomfortable with my emotion, you haven't seen anything on the outside compared to what's in the inside. They've attacked my family. my brothers, my sisters.
Yeah, I understand and share your contempt and your anger. The idea that rabbinic Judaism has this insidious plan and plot for world domination, for uh, the murdering of Christians and those that don't accept their version of interpretation of things. The idea that they're going to go into or they're behind the Russo-Ukraine war so they can take over Ukraine and reestablish Karzia and rule
Yeah.
the world from there as opposed from Israel.
Same broadcast, by the way.
Um, Mike, this goes back to the thoroughly debunked protocols of the elders of Zion garbage. This goes, and these are people who are claiming to be insightful in hearing from the Holy Spirit and seeing the missing clues from Scripture and um, have inside information and all of this stuff, which tickles the ear, as Peter Shimon Kefa said, they are speaking arrogant nonsense. I'm not shocked that there are people who do such things and speak such things and propagate the often told lie about the Jews in Israel, or those who call themselves Jews in Israel are really from Karzia and Khazars, and um, that's been thoroughly debunked as well.
Yeah.
I watched a scientific study that said if that is true, then there has to be a DNA link, there has to be a linguistic link, there has to be a cultural link. They did blood samples from I don't know how many thousand Jews, and there was no DNA link whatsoever. There was no cultural link that anyone could find, and the only linguistic link possible was something perhaps from Eastern Europe, I think it was, where there was a phrase or a word that sounded similar, but even then it was a stretch. So none of the scientific markers and evidence that should be there for such a connection, none of that could be found. That being understood, why would anybody adopt an identity that would cause them centuries of being murdered, expelled, pogromed, and murdered outright, tortured for their adopted culture and language and customs and belief system? Doesn't make any sense. None
No, they just had to
whatsoever.
say to Hitler, "We're kidding. We're kidding. Oh, it was all a big joke." And 6 million would be alive today.
So I agree with you. I have a little tolerance for, how do I put this, abject stupidity of doctrine. You know, if somebody has a different interpretation of a word or a different angle of understanding about, you know, a verse or even a doctrine, I don't preach the rapture, pre-tribulation rapture any longer. I know people who do.
Yeah.
I would sit down and have lunch with them and find common ground and talk about something else. And I can understand they see it differently than I do. I know where they're going and their textual basis and foundation of understanding. I disagree with where they're coming from, excuse me, on that. That's one thing. This is a level of something else. and it
I
has
can
to be
talk.
called out. It's again, it's not shocking that people would preach and teach such things. What is shocking is that there are reasonable people who have a decent brain that would believe it.
I can sit and talk about theology all day. That's no big deal. But this is a life and death. This is accusing. This is falsely accusing my brother and sister of being a murderer. I didn't have brothers and sisters.
Mm-hmm.
You did. I know you. You would not tolerate. Right, I've met all your children, all the siblings. I don't think one of them would tolerate one of you guys being falsely accused. This broadcast was falsely accusing my brothers and sisters of atrocious, horrific events,
Mm-hmm.
which is a lie. Show me the video. Show me the video of the IDF soldier, the IDF soldiers raping an Arab woman to the point of breaking her pelvis. Show me the videos of the IDF soldier that is cutting a baby out of an Arab's womb and putting it in an oven. Show me the video. No, oh no, that's not. No, it is the Arabs. So is my blood boiling? It's right on the edge. But don't take my word for it. Don't take my word for it. Go to Hebrew Nation Online. Listen to it. Listen to the broadcast. If you're okay with it, you probably won't be watching us very long. Okay? But if you're not okay with it, call, email, and tell them this has to stop. This kind of Jew hatred has to stop. Because if you don't do anything, I love the statement that I think it was Josh Waller that made not too long ago. What you're doing in 2024 is the same thing you would have been doing in 1934.
Exactly.
If you're being silent today, you would have been silent then. It's estimated that 1 out of 14,000 Christians did something. The rest of them sat on the sidelines and watched Jews being taken to the ovens and the camps. Hanok, and I'll finish with this. Hanok mentioned it was Rav Mir Kahana that made the statement "never again" pretty famous.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not "never again will this happen," because we can't control that. But never again will we be silent.
So you might be asking, well, what else can we do besides calling out and going to whatever media is supporting such things and demanding that it be stopped? When your legislature in your state or in your national government uh, votes against Israel, call them on it.
Yeah.
Send word or a call or something to your state senators, your representatives, to the White House. Don't support this. Don't agree with this, and it needs to stop. Support those who do support Israel. And there were riots that were going on college campuses. Should we have formed a multi-thousand member counter demonstration and shown up and yelled at them from across the street? Yelling and screaming at people, I don't know, is necessarily the most effective means of doing something, but you can do something.
Yeah, that never worked with other things. Yelling at a person does not help them to listen. Building a relationship with someone to where you earn the right to speak into their lives. The greatest thing we can do today is build relationships with people to where they trust us with the truth that we're bringing.
There used to be a sticker I had on a vehicle. I don't have the vehicle any longer. Wherever I stand with Israel. Words are easily said.
Yeah.
Stickers are easily placed on a vehicle.
Yeah.
But those who are living in the land and under the constant threat of the next attack, they need to know that we stand with them more than in theory. I also saw a T-shirt years and years ago. It had an F-16 on it with Israeli insignia on it. And the caption says, "Don't worry, America, we got you back."
Yeah. Those days may be passing.
Maybe.
Yeah.
It may be.
All right, Barry.
Well,
I feel a nap coming on.
we vented a bit, but it was
Yeah.
more than a vent. It was expression of public outrage that such stuff is not only tolerated, but it is allowed.
Yeah.
And what's supposed to be media supporting our movement and our community. So take a listen, and appreciate you sharing this video and your comments. And we look forward to seeing you again next week.
Got it.
See you, Mike.
You got it.